No fortress can protect us. We know no borders. King Charles' words spark a storm. In a heated studio exchange, guests challenge the monarch's remarks, confronting the idea of Britain as anything but an island. Tensions rise as immigration, failed deals, and government inaction dominate the conversation. In a heated debate on GB News, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to stay updated.
We all know it's difficult for the king, and he'll be given a whole stack of advice. I just contend that to say there are no borders between our countries is quite a big mistake.
Well, let's see the whole context of what he actually says. That's only the clip that, or the sort of the pre-briefing that we've heard.
Well, that's true, but we have been given quite large chunks of it.
Yeah, but I think, you know, what King Charles has tried to do, and he's much more touchy-feely than his mother was, and he is much more willing, and I think he's always had a small p political interest in, you know, whether it was the environment or whether it's architecture and all the other things that he cares about and has done, and was...
Well, the architecture's not that political, is it?
Well, it can be.
It can be.
It can be.
It doesn't
Environmentally, the environment has been very political, and he was, you know,
he actually, I'll praise him because he's kept off that since he became the monarch.
Yes, and he's, you know, and he was written off as a sort of a tree hugger and somebody who talked to his plants and things. I think this is his way of saying, you know, we are friends, we are neighbours, not so much, you know, we're an island and we're going to play Little England.
I don't know. Ranald seems to me to be quite a big mistake he's making, and something with which the vast majority of his supporters would disagree.
Well, I think, as Joe said, it's really important to look at the full context here. And my understanding is he's saying that it's our two countries that face a great deal of challenges in common. And as I think his wording is, as friends and as allies, we face them together. These challenges know no borders. And that is true.
Yeah.
You know, the fact is, across the whole of Europe, there is a big problem with illegal immigration. The EU should be acting tougher. I know the Italian government would love the EU to be acting tougher.
One of the reasons I pushed so hard for Brexit. I saw the stupidity of what the EU was doing, allowing millions of people to cross the Mediterranean.
But I don't think, therefore, there's anything wrong with him saying that there is a big problem that transcends these borders, and it's right that we should be trying to tackle them with the French. I think it's encouraging to see some activity now by the French police to try and stop boats crossing the channel. This is
honestly,
progress. But hang on a second. Hang on a second. There's much further to go.
Don't you think it's a coincidence that a BBC camera just happened to be on a beach a few days before the state visit when we've given them 800 million quid?
No, I'm not into conspiracy theories. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But the point is...
You were in government. You know all about spin.
Oh, there we are. You got me I think the point is that at least some action seems to be being taken now, which is a start. I happen to agree with you on this one-in, one-out deal. I mean, I think, you know, the idea that fundamentally there'll be the same number of people, but it's like a different group of people, I'm not sure that's going to really have merit, and I'm not sure that you will even agree to it, as you say.
I think it's about people reuniting with their families. That is the general...
Joe,
but I'm sure
given the sheer number of people in Britain already, from Afghanistan, from Iraq, there's almost nobody that wouldn't say, I've got a third cousin in Huddersfield or whatever it may be.
I think they're direct families. I mean, we haven't seen the breakdown. And just to go back to what Ranald was saying about the king, you know, he is talking not just about immigration, he's talking about the other things that we face as neighbours and friends and allies and all the rest of it. I think, you know, interesting...
Well, that may be true, but the focus of this summit is, without doubt, because all the other stuff we've done at NATO, etc., over the course of the last few weeks, the overwhelming focus of this is what's happening in the Channel. The Prime Minister knows there is growing anger in the country. The numbers are 50% up on this time last year. I just don't think it's a very clever comment. But look, moving on. It seems to me that on this issue, Starmer is possibly now in even more trouble than the Conservative government was before?
Yes, I think he probably is. And I think, you know, the figures have gone up hugely.
Yeah.
Now, we know, you and I have talked about this before, that a lot of that is due to the weather. It is also the fact that they are putting more and more people on the boat. So there are fewer boats, but more people.
There was one came into Dover the other night with 90 on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, and regularly there's sort of 60, 70 people. So there's all of that. The smuggling gangs are getting braver and more bold and brasher, and they're moving down the French coast. And as anybody knows who's been to that area, you know, it's sandy dunes, people hide, they get in, and all of that sort of stuff. But, you know, the point that you've made, I mean, we have given billions to France to not really see very much done.
No. Well, Ranald believes it. You know, he sees one boat being slapped.
Hang on.
And he
I
thinks
didn't
the French are
quite
doing a
say
great
that.
job.
I mean, a bit like selective quoting of the king. I think that's selective quoting of me.
Do you know what? I really am not selective quoting the king. I was really careful.
I've got the quotes.
I was really careful to go through all of
quotes
this.
from the king. The king's quote is, "These challenges know no borders. No fortress can protect us against them this time."
We're an island.
No, these issues, as we've seen, if the French don't act, the people come here. So we've got to make sure we're working with the French.
It's wide open to misinterpretation. How much trouble do you think the government's in on this issue?
Huge amount of trouble. And yes, you know, our record could have been better. I'm not going to pretend otherwise.
Could it be better?
Look, I'm being honest. I'm saying yes. We should have acted earlier. We should have acted harder. I get that. And I think Kemi gets that as well. She said as much. But the point is that this government said they were going to so-called smash the gangs.
Yeah.
And it's not happened, has it? People are now very disappointed and
fact,
disenchanted with politics.
the gangs actually have become even more brazen.
Exactly.
I chucked something up on social media last week where one of the gangs just put their mobile phone number.
Yeah.
Straight out there, it's on TikTok, it's elsewhere on social media. No, they are failing and failing badly.
You know, the government is cutting the backlog, which you left
But that's not the illegal... this is not the people coming across the channel.
But some of those people will be there, people who will have come across the channel, who've been sitting...
But it's being backfilled by more people coming across the channel.
Of course,
That's the problem.
you know, I know, but, you know, it's a bit like the prisons, which we may talk about later.
We're going to talk about that later.